Welcome to Jared Scott Outdoors. This YouTube channel is dedicated to getting our youth more involved in the outdoors. To do this, I'll be out with family and friends doing all sorts of outdoor adventures. This week on Jared Scott Outdoors, I am out with some snorkeling gear. I am on Ryrie Reservoir and we are going to be snorkeling for crawdads. It's a beautiful day. This is the middle of August. It's supposed to be about 90 degrees today. I'm sweating just carrying everything down here to the lake. But it looks like an amazing day to do some crawdad fishing and obviously an amazing day to do some skiing. There's lots of people out playing on the lake today. But either way, Kade is coming with a bunch of his friends. It's been a long time since I've done this, several years. And so I had to pull these out of storage, kind of clean the dust off from the garage and do this. This is something that's really fun, but I always get just kind of busy in August. This time we decided to make it happen. So Kade's got a handful of his buddies coming and some friends. They've never done it. Even Kade was too small last time we did this, so he's even really excited to do this. It's just a fun thing to do. So let's get after it and you'll see what I mean. As I mentioned, we're hunting for crawdads on Ryrie Reservoir. You can do this at any place where crawfish thrive, but for me, Ryrie is close and has lots of good habitat for these ugly but tasty critters. Ryrie Reservoir is a popular place in the summer for people trying to beat the heat with their skiing and surfing rigs. But for those looking to wet a line, it's also a great fishery for a variety of fish, including crawfish, better known as crawdads. All right, so I'm going to get this set up while I'm waiting, at least try to get things rolling. But so how do I do it? Well, first I got to give a shout out to my buddy Sheldon Christensen, who invited me to come do this years and years ago and introduced me to this. And this is kind of how they do it, and it's just how I know to do it. But basically, we've got a brick, and you tie that to something that floats. It can be a bottle, in this case, a piece of a pool noodle. But I've got quite a long rope here, something that's going to hold it on. I did something I could see because I found when you're swimming, it's nice to see that line, especially if the water's not super clear. But anyways, you want this, 8-10 feet long, so that however long it is, it's just when you put that bait down and that brick sinks to the bottom, whatever you got floating is going to come clear to the top. And that way you can set several of them up with the food attached to this, and then you just kind of cruise along and check them as you go. Now, what are we using for bait? You can use chicken, you can use whatever you want, hot dogs, you can also use fish. Now I've got some freezer burnt perch that I'm going to try. I'm going to cut them up. They're not good for anything other than fish and bait at this point, but I'll cut them open so that smell kind of seeps out there, and I'm going to then tie this fish to the brick so that they can't steal it, number one, because that's happened in the past. So I got to make sure it's tied on good so they can't steal it, and then we'll just drop that brick down, and then you just give it time. They'll start coming. That scent's going to keep going out, and they'll just keep coming as the day progresses. But anyways, that's kind of the setup we're using. I sat down and cut up fish and tied them on the bricks with fishing line, and then walked the shore and tossed each brick in about 6 to 8 feet of water and spaced them about 5 to 10 yards apart. Later we'd find that it was actually easier to swim the length of the bait line than to walk it along such a broken rocky shoreline. All right, see what happens. About the time I got the last of the baits out, the boys all showed up. A couple more of their friends were also on their way. As I mentioned before, none of these guys had ever done something like this, so they were pretty excited to give it a try. And on top of it, they just like to have fun, and so this adventure was right up their alley. By now, the first baits I dropped had probably been out for about a half hour, so those ones likely had time to get a few crawdads coming their way. With just a little bit of instruction, they all pulled on their masks and jumped on in. Now I still didn't know how clear the water was, so Kade would be the first one to let us know if he could see the bait and, of course, any crawdads.
There was one there, but I missed. It was like under a rock that I was like, I could maybe get it, but I couldn't.
Kade checked a couple more and then moved one before realizing he needed to take a second to catch his breath again.
I guess so far if I didn't take a big enough breath. bottom.
When I originally threw this in, this one dropped in deeper water than I had anticipated, so the foam bobber was under the surface. I'd have Kade move it into shallower water after he first checked it. Hey!
There's another one down there.
That's a good one.
That's the biggest one.
First crawdad.
There's another one down there. I'm gonna go get it. Let's try to get the other one. I was gonna grab the other hand. It's like, nah.
No, that's what you do. You just grab. Since he'd seen a second one, he headed back down to try for it. He'll come back. As I got back over to where our bucket was to drop Kade's crawdad in, I got there just after Chandler caught one.
I got my first one. I've never caught one. There it goes. Is that the first?
Second one. Kade got one too.
Oh, Garrett. Ran away so fast.
Now Kade had brought a few gloves with him so that he could grab any crawdads without worrying as much about getting pinched. As he was passing out some of the extra gloves, Nate didn't think he needed one. However, once Nate got in close and saw those big pinchers, he wasn't about to grab them without a little more protection for his fingers. But in all fairness, underwater, those crawdads look twice as big as they really are. Just grab them, you'll totally be fine. You'll get pinched every now and then, it won't even matter.
It's gonna freak me out.
Yeah.
They look like tiny aliens.
Yep, then you gotta be a man. They look bigger underwater. They'll be half the size when you pull them up, is what you think.
I got pinched with this one.
Did it hurt?
No. What do you think?
They look so freaky. Their eyes like pop out of their head. See it? I thought it was like this big. It was really huge. Okay, watch.
Get it?
No.
Well, get it then.
Giant, it's scary.
I'm gonna take this. Where's it at?
Right underneath you. The fish is right here. Tuck it behind it.
Kade headed down to get the big crawdad himself, but came up empty as well.
Grab it.
I missed.
You saw it though, right?
There's like two of them up there.
That was a big one.
And just so you know, even though Nate gave us a good laugh, he does get over his fear of getting pinched and ends up catching a handful. Unfortunately, the water wasn't clear enough to see the bottom as they were swimming around on the surface of the water. If the water is ideal, you can actually see clear to the bottom as you're swimming around. But the conditions today required them to swim down to get a lot closer in order to see any crawdads that were on the bait. Which brings us to the ICCU outdoor tip. Well, as you can tell, everybody's having a good time. For the ICCU tip this week, I want to talk a little bit about the timing of when you come out. I kind of mentioned this before, but to explain it a little more, you want to make sure that you can see well when you're doing this for obvious reasons. You're snorkeling, you're trying to see those and catch them that way. And so you want to see well. You also want it to be warm, because when you're in the water for long periods of time, if it's still pretty cold, even if it's hot outside, if the water is cold, you get really cold. I've found that out. And so you want it, nice warm day. You're trying to push that envelope as far as, okay, how late in the summer can we do this before the water starts to turn green? Because once it gets cloudy and too green, you can't see very well and it's not quite as fun. So that's kind of the trick, is wherever it is you're going to be crawdadding, is trying to time it right so that it's warm, the crawdads have had time to get big, but it's not too late in the summer that everything's kind of turning green and mucky. Anyways, that's the tip this week. We're back now, and as you know, we're out here on Ryrie Reservoir trying to snorkel and catch some crawdads. Now I've got Lizzie here, who's been dying to say this on the show.
Welcome to Jared's Gone Outdoors.
All right, let's get back at it. As you can see, we had a couple others join us, Lizzie and Raleigh. And I'll tell you what, these two girls had no problem jumping right in, and neither was afraid to go right after the crawdads. Lizzie actually caught one right off the bat when I was off checking some other baits with the guys, but it took Raleigh a few dives before she was able to get one. Good job, Raleigh!
Thank you.
Not to be outdone, Jerem was also getting in on the action. Jerem, how many is that for you?
One.
One? That's one. That's the first one, huh?
Yeah. The other ones, I caught like 3 of them and then they pinch me and I let go. Those things kind of scare me.
Third one. A big one.
Nice. Just tossing in there. All right, I want to show you what I've made. You can have a net or some sort of floating net, but what I did, so I've got this bucket, we got 3 of them, drilled a lot of holes in them, and then something that floats it. So it actually sits like this. We just had it floating right here. And that way it keeps fresh water in there, keeps the crawdads alive, and you can actually even push this along with you as you check. Now I made 3 of them, so we had 3 different drop spots basically. But and then just tied it off on a rock so the waves wouldn't carry it away. But yeah, just a lot of holes. That way it drops down and keeps the crawdads all good. So that's just something if you're going to go out to have, you want something where you think ahead as far as, okay, where are you going to put these when you catch them so that they stay alive and fresh. I filmed them catching some from shore. Now I think I'm going to grab the GoPro and we'll head out and see if we can, see if it's clear enough that we can show you what they're seeing. As you can see, we definitely came a little too late in the season as the water was pretty murky. I tried to follow Kade around a bit as he checked for the crawfish. This first bait didn't appear to have one. When we got to the next one, I checked it first, and sure enough, there was one sitting right on the fish. Heading back up, I let Kade know so he could try to get it. As he was swimming back to our catch bucket with that big crawdad, he decided to check another bait, and sure enough, came back up with another. Eventually, I wanted to try to catch some myself, but realized that trying to film and catch would prove to be tough. As we were wrapping it up, I asked the guys what they thought of the day.
It's been absolutely lovely out here. The sun's been bright, clouds have been few, and lobsters many. In the beginning, I caught a lot of lobsters. Oh wait, crawdads. I caught lots of crawdads in the beginning, and in the end, I have not even seen one. But I'm going out now, and I'm gonna get another.
It's been pretty fun. It's been pretty good.
It's been fun. Haven't caught anything. Apparently I suck at catching crawdads.
It's been fun. Got some crawdads. Caught 6 of them. So ready to taste them. ready to cook them up, put some seasoning on that.
We didn't catch a ton of crawdads, but everybody got a handful. Let's see, Lizzie, how many did you get? One. All right. Nate?
I got 8.
8. Jerem?
6.
6. 4. 4.
6, baby!
6.
1.
1. Oh, we won't ask Garrett. I got 1 too. So not a ton. Did you guys have fun?
Yes.
It's a good time, even though we didn't catch a bunch, and now we get to head home and cook them up. So with that, Lizzie is gonna wrap this up.
And we'll see you next week on Jared's Gone Outdoors.
If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to the Jared Scott Outdoors YouTube channel.